Hello and welcome back to Nolan Financial Radio. My name is Chris McKinney from Nolan Financial Partners. If you'd like more information about what you hear during today's show, give us a call at 719-210-4242. If you're writing this down, that's 719-210-4242. You can also visit us at our website, nolanfinancialpartners.com. And while at our website, click on the radio page, check out our past shows, and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us with questions or to set up a face-to-face or virtual meeting. If you call in on the radio show today, we're offering 20 complimentary consultations. Please give us a call. So for today, we're going to talk about 401ks and how they are such a huge part of your financial strategy. That's because for a lot of folks, a 401k and a Social Security will be their primary sources of income in retirement. But in my experience, many people don't understand what makes their 401k tick. They simply contribute the money out of each paycheck without a full grasp of why they're doing it, how much should go in, all kinds of information about it that we're going to talk about today. So we're going to focus on the two main issues of how you're getting your money in and how the money can best work for you, in the fact that you need to have a vesting. There might be a vesting period, and you want to be able to max it out. So in some cases, a few subtle and relatively easy tweaks can give your 401k a really nice boost. So before we pull back the curtain on a 401k, let me introduce you to my co-host, Tony Shore, who is even more delightful than a fall afternoon trip to the local apple orchard.
Oh, no, I'm not. An afternoon trip in the fall to your local apple orchard sounds like a great time. And but I appreciate you saying that, because you know what, Chris? I love being here with you each week. That's the deal. That's
awesome,
the deal.
Tony.
And I've got to believe that wherever Tara is right now, she's jealous of you and I getting to do this and hanging out together.
You know, she does miss the radio show in a way, because she misses talking with you.
Oh, that's probably not true. But
Well, she really misses connecting with the listeners and
Yes.
and educating,
That
right? That's who she is. She's an educator.
Yeah, I mean,
She really does miss that
she's
part.
jet setting around Europe, solving the world's problems. I love it. She's somewhere at an undisclosed location, solving problems for the military. I love it.
Yes.
I mean, when she's not solving our listeners' financial issues, she's solving world crisis for the military and our government. So, Tara Nolan is an amazing thing, and I just I look at you and go, how do you keep up with that? I'm like,
she's a big thinker.
Yeah, your hair wasn't gray when you met Tara, but
no. I had guapo hair, man. I was looking strong.
Good luck keeping up with her. That's all I have to say to you, Chris. Good luck with that. Even once a week doing the show with her was as much as I could handle. I don't know how you do it. But I know that you love working with your clients and helping people and educating our listeners. That's what the show's about. I know you and Tara love to educate folks. And 401ks, I mean, I've got to believe that a good majority of our listeners probably have a 401k or 403b or 457 or a traditional IRA, some type of retirement account. And if they have an employer, if they work for an employer, they probably have some type of 401k or employer sponsored plan. And that's what we're talking about here. Right. The irony is, we were talking before the show, I've had, over my 35 years, I've had a few 401ks, and I made the mistake of having three at once at one point, and I finally went back and got those other two consolidated, because I know that's no. Yeah. You don't want to forget about them or leave them at an employer once you're gone, right?
No, you don't, because then you don't have control of them at all anymore, because you don't have visibility on them.
Right.
That's one of the big services we offer that helps people, is people that have changed jobs, is you've got this junk drawer of 401ks. And you need to get them consolidated. You need to get hold of them. you need to manage how they're being invested, especially when we're in a current kind of stock market.
Yeah.
You want to know what they're doing so that if you need to make changes, you can. And
Yeah.
if they're in what we call an orphan 401k, you're not in control of it at all.
No, and just in general, you have a lot less control of a 401k than you would if you put it into, say, a traditional IRA or Roth IRA, and
That's right.
and I know you've recommended that before. However, if you are working for your current company and they offer a 401k and a match, you definitely want to max that out, right?
Right, because that if you get a dollar for dollar match, or even a 75 cents on the dollar match, that's way more than any investment could ever return for you.
Yeah, it's free
So
money too. It's free money. If
it's free
if
money.
they'll
Yeah.
match up to 6% of your income in a 401k,
Oh, that'd be
you need to
amazing.
every month be putting 6%. You need to set it at 6%,
That's right. Yeah.
right?
So
If not a little more. But I know you've said that that extra money beyond the match, sometimes for different people, not everybody's situation is different. It
right.
might make sense to put it in something where there is a little more control, or maybe a little more principal protection, something like that, like either an IRA or a Roth or an insurance bucket.
That's right. Once you start looking at, okay, how am I going to manage this in retirement? Then we got to start expanding how that's going to look. And one of the big problems with 401ks is they're helping you with your taxes while you're working. That's a great thing about them. They reduce your tax liability, but they're pushing that tax liability off.
Yeah,
So
they're helping you with your taxes for the current year
the
that
current
you're in.
year. That's
Yeah,
right.
so looking back for the past year, they will help that when those taxes come due.
You're exactly right.
That year. But in the they're putting it off for the future,
Paying it off.
where you're not only gonna have to pay taxes on the seed, the money you put in, but you're gonna have to pay taxes on the gains too.
That's right. So that's why it's really good to take a good look at that 401k and see maybe how we can divest it out at the right time into other things. And so that's where planning comes in, is how do we do this in a best way, a good way, so we're not overpaying in taxes. We don't want to pay taxes we don't have to pay. We're not
Mhm.
trying to get around taxes. We want to pay taxes because taxes keep our country going, but we want to pay the right amount. And so we don't want to put ourselves in a position where those taxes can hurt us. There's a lot of ramifications for taxes when you're in retirement, because taxes, how much your income is in retirement can affect your Medicare payments and things like that. So 401ks can build up this logjam of taxes and ordinary income, unearned ordinary income, that can affect a lot of things in retirement if you don't have a good plan.
Yeah. Well, and really, when it comes to retirement accounts, it's all about two things: maximizing your retirement savings money, the
Yes.
amount, and minimizing your tax burden. And it's all about taxes. So
Yeah.
there are so many implications that come in, whether you have a Roth 401k or a traditional, whether you pay taxes now or later. But it all depends on your personal situation. And really,
Yes.
to figure all this out, Chris, you can't do it on your own. You need to work with somebody who's done this and does this every day. Someone like yourself who can sit
That's
down
right.
and say, okay, here's where you're at with your 401k. Here's how much money, here's when you want to retire. Here's how much money you're going to need. What do we need to do? Here's your current tax situation. And I know
Right.
you guys work alongside CPAs and tax professionals, and you
Always.
can work along your side your client's tax professional, because a CPA will typically look at the current year, this year, maybe next year as well, but for sure looking back at the last year and how much you're going to have to pay when tax time comes in April. But you look at the big picture and say, okay, but if you did this now, it's not going to bump you into a higher tax bracket. You've got the
Right.
money, taxes are on sale. Let's do this so you have more tax-free income in retirement. Am I right?
That's exactly right. And when you said taxes are on sale, that made me think about the sunsetting of the current tax code.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and so that's going to come pretty soon here.
Yep.
I think we've got 2023 and 2024, but after that, we're going to revert back to the tax code we had prior to 2017.
Right.
So there was a tax act that got passed during the previous administration that lowered the tax codes, and so a lot of those brackets are going to go up a lot. Some
Yeah.
small, some a lot. The people in the middle income, it's actually a pretty big tax raise.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's something that you need to look at to see if that 401k is better to, man, it's better if I get all this stuffed in there and keep pushing it later, or to, hey, maybe I should pay taxes these next 2 years and then change it so that I'm not paying taxes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
True. And
something to think about.
that's a really good point. Now, back to the 401k match. I always hear this term vested. And so let's
Right.
jump into our content here for today. And the first
Sure.
thing, I think you mentioned a U.S. News and World Report article.
Yeah, so this U.S. News and World Report article talks about your 401k. Once you qualify to get your matching and other employer contributions, you want to make sure that you understand what the vesting schedule looks like for that company. So that vesting schedule is employees are not allowed to hold on to their employer contributions to their 401k until they've been with the company for a specific time period,
Ah,
often 1 to 3 years. And sometimes it's graded out a little bit. So these vesting schedules allow employees who are leaving to keep a certain percentage of their 401k match based on the length of employment. Now, the money you put in, you still get to keep with you. Okay. But it's about the match, and that match can be significant if you're getting a 1-to-1 match on 6% contribution, correct?
yeah, yeah.
So uh,
They're doubling your money that you're putting in if you're
you're ju-
putting in 6%.
that's right. And so you look at it, and if you can hang out in that job for 6 more months till you hit that vesting schedule, you want to make sure you do that. Um, some of these employers even can go out to 6 years on their vesting schedule.
Yikes.
So it's something to know before you start job surfing around. Maybe you want another job, but sometimes it can be as simple as 6 months. And I actually had a client that came in. She was a physical therapist, right? Well, physical therapists change positions a lot because
Yeah, they move around.
they
Yep.
move
And change.
around
Yep.
because they're there are a lot of them are very competent and they're very good, and so then they get hired away by other
Yeah, it's
organizations.
their way to increase their salary significantly is to move from one place to a next. They get
That's right.
recruited because there's a demand. Yeah.
That's how capitalism works.
Yep.
Is if you're good and you're bringing in clients and clients keep coming in and saying good things about you, then you're making that organization money, and they will hire you. So, but anyway, she lost all of her matching because she didn't work another 6 months. That's kind of why I keep bringing
Oh,
up 6 months.
no. She would
And,
have had to stay 6 months to get all of that match that
yeah,
they had been matching, but she loses all the match, by
right.
leaving before she's quote unquote "vested." So that's what
That's
being
right.
vested means. And some companies, hey, you're vested after 90 days. Most now it's a year to 3 years, like you say, and
Right.
some it's even longer, up to 6 years. But usually if it's longer, it's a gradual thing. Like you get to keep, if you've been there 3 years, you keep 20%, 4 years, you keep 50, and 6 years, you get to keep it all, that type of
Right.
thing.
Right. So it's a good idea to go down to that HR department and get
Yep.
the rules around your vesting schedule. so you understand what those are.
Yeah, and when you first take a job, you're excited about the job, you're thinking about a lot of
Yeah,
things, and even if, and I'm not saying a lot of HR departments don't, or they just give you written material where it said, a lot of them don't say, "Now let me explain this to you. We will match up to 6%. So you're going to want to make sure you're putting at least that amount in. And you have to stay with the company this number of years or you'll lose it." They don't say that like that. They don't sit you down and look you in the eye and
no,
really slowly explain that typically. Typically, they
right,
go, "Here's your information." They may say
yeah,
in passing, "Yep, we have a 3-year vesting time period. We have this 90
right,
days before you get your health care." It's just lost in the shuffle. And so people don't realize. And then, like you say, they might get a better job offer. And if they'd stayed just 3 more months or two
right.
more months at that job, they're giving up, in some cases, it could be thousands of dollars, you know?
Yeah, I think $3,700 for my particular client she gave
Yeah.
up, and so that was a big, big part of the amount of money that she had put in.
Yeah.
So that was,
Yeah. That new job would have to pay a lot and give a lot of great benefits to make up for leaving 6 months early before you can get that $3,700, right?
that's right. I mean, most people when they move jobs, they don't get they might get a $3,000 a year paycheck, but more than but they had before, but maybe not.
Yeah.
So, and and it's not 401k money, so it's not in that tax deferred situation that we love, right? So, a place where it can grow and not get hit with
Yeah.
taxes.
Yeah, and I
So,
suppose, and Chris, I was going to ask you, a lot of listeners are probably saying, so should I always stay in a job until you're fully invested in the 401k plan? Or are there situations where it's okay to leave before you're fully vested? I would imagine there are situations where it could be justified to leave it, though.
yeah, there's definitely reasons that justify to leave it, especially for moving to a better job. Maybe you're
Right.
moving to a better job that has a better 401k matching. A lot
Sure.
of employers do half matching up to 3%. So they only give you basically one and a half.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with how they phrase things so you understand what they're telling you.
Yeah.
Um, so if if you're not happy where you are, you know, that's you've got to make that decision. Is if am I going to be that much happier at my new place that I'm going to leave this money behind?
Right.
It sometimes the answer is yes. I mean, it's not
Sure.
worth that $3,500. I'm out of here. I'm out and
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're miserable in your job or it's causing you a lot of stress or there's, if you're absolutely miserable, the
Yeah,
relief from that for a better job might be worth the 3,500 isn't even going to be a consideration for you. Or if you're wealthy and you don't care about $3,700, which most people nowadays, no matter how much you have, you care about $3,700, but you don't just want to let it go. But
no,
and you have to do the math too. What if you're moving into a company like you say that offers a much better match and is going to pay you if you're going to make 10 grand more a year?
yeah, it's a no
y-
brainer.
Yeah, and if you waited 6 months, that opportunity they need to hire somebody in the next 2 weeks. You're
Yeah.
taking the job, right? I
Oh,
mean,
you're taking the job.
yeah, yeah,
There's no reason to stick it out
yeah,
in that kind of situation, and that's often why people do move. So there are a
sure,
lot of people that do lose the matching due to that vesting schedule, and so that is why it's important to know the vesting schedule so you know you're monitoring how your 401k is
yeah,
performing, and
yeah,
so that matching is part of your performance.
sure. That makes perfect sense. And so obviously that's an important one. Now, before we move on into our next segment, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you, Chris, and set up that consultation to look at where they're at.
Yeah, listeners can visit us at our website, nolanfinancialpartners.com, or they can call our office at 719-210-4242. We can discuss how we might be able to answer your questions, address your concerns about your retirement income. So our goal is to help you prepare for the retirement you've worked so hard for.
All right. Well, that sounds great, Chris. And I know you and Tara love talking with the listeners. I encourage them to pick up the phone, give you a call, even if they just have a quick question. And I know you've set aside some
That's right.
appointment times for our listeners. That's great. Now, moving on. Let's move on. I know
Yeah.
that there are things like we've already talked a lot about the being vested and the match. What about catch-up contributions and that type of thing? I know that, let's talk about should people max out their 401k? There are maximum amounts you can put in. There are limits to what you can contribute, right?
Right. So the limits you can contribute for 2022 is 20,500. Okay, so that's what you can put in. The matching is not part of that. Now there's some other tax code that's thrown in there for people at different income rates. So
Sure.
you'll need to figure those out.
Yeah.
The other part that a lot of people don't know about is the catch-up contribution. So in 2022, the catch-up contribution is $6,500. So
Wow.
that's a considerable amount that you can put into a
Yeah.
401k. Older workers may be able to defer paying income taxes on as much as $27,000 in their 401k account in 2022. That's a big number when
Yeah.
we're talking about tax money that we're deferring and that we're getting that all working for us out in however you have that money invested.
Sure.
So broken down, that means an employee who is 55 and in the 24% tax bracket who maxes out their 401k plan may be able to reduce their current tax bill by $6,480. So usually when you're between 55 and 65 is when you're making your most money because that's when you're most competent at your job. And so reducing your tax bill by almost $6,500 might be a really good way to help leverage your retirement.
Yeah, there you go. And that's what you wanna do. You wanna minimize that tax burden while increasing your retirement account, and I think you need if you question, "Well, I can't afford to max out my 401k, I need that money for other things," maybe you do, maybe you don't, right? You need to talk to
That's
a
right.
financial advisor who's gonna sit down and do the math for you and look at your situation. Sometimes you need an outside third party that's not as close to it as you or your spouse to
Right.
look at where you're at and look at your situation and say, you are doing the best you can right now. That's great. Maybe that's it. Or, well, no, you can max this out. It'll do this for you. In the long run, it makes a huge difference and it
Right.
reduces your tax bill now. And you should be able to do that just fine. Those are the kinds of things that you need to do. And I personally was told there would be no math. That's why I rely on you, Chris, to figure these things out. That's
So
why
so
you're here.
here's a simple thing that I tell my clients. So if for every dollar you put into a 401k, you're at that 24% tax bracket. We're here in Colorado, so they're paying 5%. That's 5% to the state. So that's 29%. So basically that's 30 cents on the dollar. So for every dollar you put into your 401k, that only takes 70 cents out of your budget. So think of that that you're spending 70 cents out of your income that's coming into your bank account. So can you stand to take 70 cents out of your income and then put that dollar into your 401k? So I break that down for them so they don't have to do hard math. It's like,
Right.
oh, well, I could probably invest another $30. Okay,
Yeah.
well, $30, that really only is about $20 out of your budget. So
Yeah.
maybe we need to look at $40. And so that way we're getting that more of that money into your 401k. So we're building up that retirement as fast as we can.
And that's
Um,
more compounding interest, and it's gonna grow more. The more you put in, the better the
exactly.
growth. You don't wanna miss out on growth, especially right now when the markets have been so low this year, there's growth opportunity coming. right?
That's right.
So the more you're putting in this year, the better off you're going to be because you're buying low and then it's going to grow. We know the markets rebound and they usually rebound well, at least over the last 20 to 30 years. We've seen amazing rebounds.
That's right. And so a lot of investors have a hard time when it's down, and they want to move into safer environments when their 401ks have gone down, but that's not the thing to do when the market's down. The time to move into safer environment with your money is when the market's up.
Yeah.
So because the market's up, at some point it's going to go down, right? So now is not the time to move into a safer environment. Now is time to wait for those investments to come back up. That's what I've been talking to my clients about. We're going to be okay. Wait for it. At some point, we're going to come back. If you look at the history of the market, there's always a wild return after a downturn like this.
Yeah, nobody has a crystal ball, but in the past, that's always happened. We assume it will happen this time. Nobody knows. Nobody can time the market, but long term, the market since its inception has gone up overall. So
that's right.
73 or something % of the years are up years, and so this down year is not a majority of years are down like this. So that's a good thing. You got to look at the glass half full, right?
That's right.
Yeah, but you don't want to miss out on the upswings because I've heard that in the last 5 years, if the last 5 years there were 5 days where if you missed those 5 days, it would have reduced your earnings in half or less. I mean, it was exponentially.
It's crazy how a single day can affect portfolios. And I've heard studies exactly like that. I've heard studies going back 30 years where if you've missed these 10 days, you've missed out on huge returns.
Yeah.
So you don't just jump in and out of the market.
No.
It's not safe to do that.
No, I mean, and that's, if you're younger, if you're in your 30s or 40s, if you're anywhere before the age of 50 or 55, really, especially 55, basically, if you're younger than 55, you don't jump in and out of the market. You got to let it go.
You got to let it go.
If you've got 10 years before you need the money or more, you're crazy to try to jump in and out and time the market. And everybody says that. All the experts, Warren Buffett said it's not it's not timing the market, it's time in the market, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Because over time, our economy in the United States has continued to grow. As long as the economy is growing, then the market will grow with it.
Yeah.
Right now, our economy is growing. Inflation is growing the economy. It is running out of control, and so that's why the Fed's creating these interest rates that are higher to slow down money. Right?
Yeah.
They want to slow down our economy. So at some point, our market will start to reflect that growth that we're seeing in the actual economy and our job markets and things like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we're out of time. Give that phone number and web address one more time, Chris, before we go.
Okay. Thanks, Tony. The phone number to call is 719-210-4242. Give us a call. If you're one of the first 20 callers, we have a complimentary consultation set aside for you. Call us at 719-210-4242. If you just want to check us out and look at some of our past radio shows, go out to nolanfinancialpartners.com. You can check out what we have going on, see what we're having. Maybe we've got some seminars coming up in the near future. Could come to some of those. We usually offer those for free to new clients. So no problem. Just give us a call, check out our website, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. And that does it for today's episode of Nolan Financial Radio.
Join us